I've always thought it would be cool to bike a very long distance. As a toddler, I tricycled down the entire length of our driveway. Those 75 feet felt like a mile. Then in grade school at age 9, I biked through 2 neighborhoods. Felt like it could have been 2 counties. In middle school, when my family lived in New Orleans, my dad took me and my older sister biking for miles until we came to the Mississippi River, where we took our bikes aboard a ferry, crossed the river, and then biked into the French Quarter. In high school and college, I took a few day-long rides. Those were great, but I always thought the Holy Grail would be biking across the entire country. It became a dream of mine. In the summer of 2013, I decided to just go for it instead of saying, someday I'll do it. I decided to put a twist on my Bike Across America project. Since I love a good craft beer, I decided to make appointments with craft breweries located along my route, which was from San Francisco to New York City. I brought along a cameraman, and from June 10th to August 23rd, after training my ass off for 3 months, getting my bike in proper shape, and with the support of great people, I biked across the United States, stopping at breweries, learning about and drinking beer. This project is called Beer on a Roll. On Monday morning, June 10th, I took a bus from my home in beautiful San Diego up to San Francisco. Why did I begin in San Francisco instead of San Diego? Well, I wanted to cycle the Western Express bike route, which begins in San Francisco, and then continue onto the Trans-America bike route across the country. About the craft beer industry in the U.S., it's truly exploded in recent years. In fact, since 2006, the number of craft breweries has doubled. The next day, Matt, my videographer, and I went to our first brew pub, 21st Amendment, in San Francisco. Hi. Hello, you must be Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, welcome to 21st Amendment.
So I guess eventually when I was done working behind a desk and doing all the business travel and stuff, I gave up all desire for money and became a brewer, which is kind of a typical jump we all do. And you spend the next 5 years at least, you know, kind of working your way into the industry for beans, working hard, working real hard. And you know, you look for opportunity, you learn as much as you can. Yeah, I never look back. Never look back. The old job was fun and all, but yeah. When I want to know how good a job I'm doing, all I gotta go is sit at the bar and drink a beer and watch other people drink a beer, and that's it. That's my market research. Wow. Done. Everyone's smiling. I win. We finish our beers drier. 21A has a reputation for having hoppier, drier beers, as does California, but even within San Francisco is even more hoppy, and then here in the 21A, we dry them out and hop them up. So
this is amazing. This has a beautiful finish.
It was dedicated to the spirit of migrations. My wife and I moved up here with 2 weeks notice, and so we spent a lot of time going back and forth closing up our affairs there on the 5 South freeway.
Ah, there you go.
So we dedicated the beer to migration, because that's a struggle everyone goes through, but it's always for the best. You just gotta tough it out, finish the day with a 5 South Pale Ale.
So what do we have here, Zambo?
MCA Stout, dedicated to a fallen homie. We call it a jam session stout. It's 4.4% alcohol, but has all the flavor of a real American stout, which are usually around 5.7% alcohol or something like that, so it's considerably lower. Cheers.
And that's what you have. Cheers.
It is what I have. It's my walking around beer. Don't get very drunk on it.
This is delicious.
It's also a favorite at the bullpen. The Giants pitchers come.
The Giants pitchers come out here, really? Did you catch that? The Giants pitchers love this beer. I mean, if they like it, that says a lot.
All the flavor without the hangover, that's the key.
So they can pitch the next day if they have to. Zambo, thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy, and we really appreciate your coming here and explaining what this is. On Wednesday, June 12th, we went across the San Francisco Bay to San Leandro, where we arrived at Drake's Brewery. Jeff McClure, the community manager, welcomed us. We got the grand tour and sampled 2 outstanding beers in Drake's tasting room. We first drank the Draconic Imperial Stout, and then the Drake's 1500, a dry-hopped American Pale Ale. Both were delicious. After Drake's, I got on the Bay Area Rapid Transit System and went north about 20 minutes to Berkeley, where we arrived at one of the oldest brew pubs in the country, from 1986, Triple Rock. It was a tight space, but with a lot of character. I tried their IPAX Ale, which is a West Coast IPA, unfiltered and with a huge citrus aroma. Thursday, June 13th. Today was my first long-distance ride as I left San Francisco and biked all the way to Sacramento to visit two craft breweries, Rubicon Brewing Company and Hoppy Brewing. My legs felt it. After biking 65 miles east of San Francisco, I entered Sacramento, where I met up with Glenn Phillips, the owner of Rubicon Brewing Company. Rubicon is hugely popular, and they feature both great beer and pub food. I downed one of their featured beers, an American-style pale ale called Monkey Knife Fight. It was very good, and no one got stabbed. After Rubicon, I only had to bike just 3 miles down the road to find Hoppy Brewing Company, where smiling Steve Patterson, Director of Sales and Marketing, greeted us. Two of their standout beers are Liquid Sunshine Blonde Ale and the Hoppy Face Amber Ale. Both were outstanding, and combined with the beers I had just drunk at Rubicon, yeah, I slept pretty well that night. Mraz Brewery is located in El Dorado Hills, California, which is about 30 miles northeast of Sacramento. It's truly a family-run business. It's Mike the owner, his brother Brandon, and Mike's son Justin. Mike originally brewed from home, and then friends and family kept telling him he needed to open his own brewery because his beer was that good. So he finally did, and in May of 2013, they opened to the community. On Saturday, June 15th, we continued northeast through California up into the Sierra Nevada mountains. It was a long, gradual climb into the mountains, and it truly tested me. The Sierras were just beautiful, and I met other cyclists and other great people as well. When I arrived into Carson City, Nevada, I met a group of students from MIT also biking across the country, and I offered them some of my Core Power replenishment drink to keep them strong. By the way, Carson City, Nevada was great. I had no idea it would be such an ideal spot to camp. In Carson City, Nevada, there is only one craft brewery, but it's a winner, High Sierra Brewing Company. Jim Fallon, the friendly owner, showed us around and offered samples of their top 3 beers. Their Irish Red Ale, which is a tasty amber, their Gen Blonde Ale, which was light and refreshing, especially after a long day of biking, and then their Black Pussycat Imperial, which had dark fruit flavors melded with coffee and chocolate. After Carson City, I cycled through the entire state of Nevada on Highway 50, called the loneliest road in America. It truly was.
Nevada, baby. On the way to Eureka, Nevada. Just having left Austin, Nevada. Over there. Woo! Going up a steep climb. Very steep. Maybe about 6,500 feet. It's a good climb. Nice day though. Really nice for beer on a roll.
I continued biking into the eastern part of Nevada into a city called Ely, where I met up with Steve McMillan from White Pine Brewery. Steve invited us not only into his brewery, but also into his home for some tastes of his great beers. After Ely, Nevada, I continued east to our last stop in Nevada, Great Basin National Park. Funny enough, we met up with the MIT students again. We all had dinner together and then camped next to a river in the park. June 23rd, I made it into Utah, and just past the border, I met a 19-year-old kid named Jonah who was walking across the U.S. I arrived into my first stop in Utah, which was a small town called Milford. And the next day, I went into southern Utah, where I spent 2 days in Cedar City. Then I took a long 15-mile, leg-burning, 8% grade climb up into Panguitch, Utah.
Yo.
Yo.
How you doing?
Good.
Hanging in there?
Hanging in there.
Nice.
It's a steep climb, but it's beautiful today. You know, doing it for beer and charity. It's an interesting combo, but so far it seems to be working. I got about 14 more miles of between 8 and 12% grade. Is that awesome or what?
I arrived into my next stop, Panguitch, Utah, just in time for their annual hot air balloon festival. So what did I do? I helped a lady get her hot air balloon up into the air. It was pretty cool. Afterwards, we all had breakfast at a local diner, and then I biked to my next stop, Escalante, Utah, which had red canyons everywhere you looked.
All right, here we are in Utah, on the way to Boulder, Utah. Going to go down a hill, have a little scenery, so check it out. Beer on a roll right here, Mike Addison. Here goes. Pretty damn cool, huh? Wave at the camera.
Can you pat your head and rub your stomach in circles at the same time? Well, that's kind of what I was doing while bicycling and filming. I was holding onto the handlebar with my left hand, holding a camera as steady as possible with my right hand, and concentrating on getting some good footage, while also concentrating on avoiding traffic and keeping myself balanced so as not to crash onto the pavement while riding at about 40 miles per hour. This is Mike Addison from Beer on a Roll in Utah, on the way to Blanding, Utah on this Sunday morning, and thought I'd share a little bit of the canyon here with you, so let's go. About 90 miles from Blanding on Scenic Highway 95 going east.
Utah. Next beer on the roll stop for a brew pub is going to be Colorado. And there you can have a beer and not be forced to eat food at the same time. It's warm today. It's going to be 112. Everybody's drinking some water. Lots of it. Woo-wee! Look at this. Canyon, canyon, canyon.
The roads were challenging. They stretched for miles as I crossed through some beautiful canyon and finally over the Colorado River. There was plenty of heat too, record-breaking in fact, up to 112 degrees.
So we're in Utah right now. I've already biked 100 miles. I got 26 more to go till I get to Blanding. This is Mike Addison from Beer on a Roll. Check it out. Been a long day of biking. Been about 105 degrees, record-breaking temperatures here. Why am I going 126 miles? Total miscommunication between Matt and I. That's nice when they go out wide like that. So anyway, yeah, Matt and I had a major miscommunication and he went way ahead of me. That's why instead of having gone 50 miles, which was the original plan, I'm now doing 126. Don't try that at home.
On July 2nd, I left Utah and entered colorful Colorado. Gavin, the owner of Telluride Brewing Company, called me the morning we were planning on visiting Telluride, asking if we could stop by in the afternoon. With only 6 hours to ride 60 miles through mountains, I needed to bike like a roided-up Tour de France racer. Somehow I made it and met up with Gavin, then his brewmaster, Fish, who smelled like chicken, and took a tour. Good beer there. Their face-down brown ale has won 2 gold medals at the World Beer Cup. By the way, Telluride might be the most scenic brewpub spot on the entire tour. This downhill run occurred from atop the Black Canyon Mountains just prior to arriving to Gunnison, Colorado. Matt put his camera on the hood of the car, and I flew down the mountain, reaching speeds up to 40 miles per hour, which is pretty fast on a bicycle. Did you know there is a specific technique for descending hills on a bicycle? When cornering turns, for example, the biggest mistake people make is waiting until they're in the middle of a turn to brake. Instead, slowly brake before coming into the turn, then lean the bike into the turn. Another tip when descending, keep your body low with your hands on the lower part of the handlebar so your center of gravity is closer to the ground, like a race car. By doing this, your weight will be more evenly distributed between the front and the rear wheels, which helps maintain traction, especially when cornering. After a mammoth quad-burning ride over the Continental Divide at an elevation of 11,300 feet, I arrived totally spent into Salida, Colorado at Moonlight Pizza and Brew Pub. They had a Seattle hippie grunge rock vibe about them. People were chill, and so was the beer, which Brian, the brewmaster, set me up with. Two outstanding brews were their medium-bodied amber and their IPA, which I noticed was not as hoppy as IPAs on the West Coast, but still a great beer. On July 4th, my videographer Matt said he was tired of the grind, and so in mid-project he quit. I was pretty angry that Matt left me in mid-project. It was demoralizing, but I had to move on and find a new videographer. I decided to go north to Denver and stayed with my nephew Josh for 10 days, which was the time it took to search, conduct interviews, and hire a new videographer. It was also an opportunity for some real rest and hanging out with Josh, my older sister's son. We've always been close. So after several interviews, I hired my new videographer, Terry Larson from TakeOneVideos.com, located in Phoenix, Arizona.
I recognize Mike's ad for a videographer as a great freelance opportunity that would get me out of the heat in Phoenix for the summer. I'm so glad it worked out. What an adventure of a lifetime.
On July 17th, Terry and I made our first visit at Wine Coop Brewing Company. Wine Coop began in 1988 when a group of young guys decided to open a microbrewery in downtown Denver. It became a hit. One of the young guys, John Hickenlooper, later became the mayor of Denver. He is now the governor of Colorado. They have great beers, and one of them, Rocky Mountain Oyster Stout, is made with 25 pounds of freshly sliced and roasted bull testicles. You have to be nuts to drink this. Breckenridge Brewery, also in Denver, was mammoth. Kyle, part of the marketing team, showed me rows of 100-barrel fermenting tanks in their brewery. They have a delicious beer called the Vanilla Porter, which I purchased back in San Diego. So Breckenridge is able to distribute pretty widely from Colorado. By the way, distribution law plays a huge role in the success of a brewery's business. For example, Texas finally passed a law which now allows craft breweries to sell their product outside the state. This will result in a huge economic win for everyone. Part of this trip was reuniting with my father, who I hadn't seen in over 25 years. Yeah, you might be thinking, hey, what happened? But yes, there's a personal story behind this between me and my dad, which I won't go into detail now, but since our reconnection occurred during the trip, as he happens to live in Denver, I wanted to share it, as it was a very happy reunion. So we're finishing up Denver, Colorado. This is Mike Addison from Beer on a Roll, and we just finished our last two brew pubs. We're going down to Pueblo right now, but before actually getting into Pueblo, I made a stop to see my father, Michael E. Addison. And it's been a while since I've seen my father. It was 1986, August of 1986, since we last saw each other, and I had a falling out. I decided I didn't want to see him and disconnect, and I didn't know it would be this long. Honestly, I thought things would be good in a few years, and unfortunately it went longer than that, but I'm very grateful to be able to see my father again. I dedicate the rest of Beer on the Roll to my father, Michael E. Addison.
Wow, that's a load. I'll take it.
Shamrock Brewing Company first opened in 1940 as a cafe. Then in 2005 it became a brew pub. Joe, the energetic manager at Shamrock, was a natural on camera, as he later told me he had worked in theater. We also interviewed two of his servers, Evelina, who has been working in restaurants since she was 14, and Jennifer, who has been working in restaurants for 1 week. They also have a great beer selection from around the world: German, English, Irish, Belgian, and American styles. Stopped over at Great Divide Bike Shop. and just got my handlebars rewrapped. They needed it, and we just got it done really quickly. They're great here at Great Divide Bike Shop. Ready to continue on now, going to Eads, Colorado. It's about 115 miles, so got a lot to do.
There he goes, on his way. Hey buddy, you lost?
Yeah, I'm trying to find Brooklyn.
I think you're going the right way.
Oh, so I'm going the right way.
I think so.
Okay, so I'm not really lost.
Just keep going straight and you should get close.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one.
Thank you. You too.
And what you up to, Mike?
Working hard. Working hard on the website. There's a lot to do, and I need to finish up within the next 2 minutes because I'm getting out of here, Eads, Colorado, going over into Kansas. So it's another full day. I have 80 miles of biking to do, so I need to go quickly. This is Mike from Beer on a Roll going over to Kansas. I'll say hello to Dorothy for everybody, and we'll see you there.
Don't forget Toto.
Oh, Toto, yeah. He might be at the pound. We'll see if we can rescue him. See ya. I hated leaving colorful Colorado, but it was time to enter Kansas, which was really flat and had in-your-face winds. I'd always want to go across country on a bicycle, and it's really simple. I enjoy craft brews and decided I could combine both. Actually, a couple friends of mine inspired me with that concept, so that's basically it. It's that simple. We encountered some dicey weather in Kansas. One storm dropped baseball-sized hail. Fortunately, I escaped being pelted by the hail as I ran into an empty barn. I average about 80 miles a day. Some days I've been over at about 50, 60, and other times I've been at about 110, 120, my highest being 125. As far as how many calories I burn, probably about, depending on my speed and if there's an incline, could be anywhere from 400 to 800 calories an hour. So on average, about 4,500, maybe 5,000 calories in a ride per day.
Does that mean you can eat a lot? Can you eat about what you want, where you want, and how much you want?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You can almost eat whatever you want, but it's good to eat some good food. But it does allow you to splurge a little bit. So if you want that bowl of ice cream or some chocolate cake, you can definitely have that. I try to eat pretty well, though.
We're still in Emporia, Kansas, getting ready for Kansas City, and battery's dead, wouldn't start. And the expert here says, no charge, it won't take a charge. So we're gonna get a new battery and then head on up to Kansas City. Stand by, we're gonna try it, here we go. Yes! Yeah, it worked, let's go!
Ameristar is actually a casino, and the Craft Brew Pub is located inside. When we arrived at the brewery, we met up with Stacy, the brewmaster. Stacy's background was in rock music, and his band was good. They even opened for Aerosmith at a few gigs. Just when he was on the cusp of making the big time in his rock career, he had a son. So he made a decision to quit touring and become an at-home dad. Seems like it's worked out well, as he now has 3 kids and he coaches their soccer teams. So good for him. Stacy has been the brewmaster at Ameristar for 9 years, and the beer really reflects his long-standing commitment. It's freaking good, especially the Face-Off Pale Ale. Boulevard Brewing Company began in 1989 and is one of the largest craft breweries in the nation. Andrew Jenkins, the cicerone at Boulevard, took Terry and I on a private tour of the facility. Andrew has quite the bubbly personality, and one can tell that he really loves his job. About their beers, their unfiltered wheat beer is the best-selling craft beer in the Midwest. It was fantastic. Andrew also let us sample Tank 7, a delicious sour Belgian beer, with which he supplied us several to-go bottles. Thanks, Andrew. We used the to-go bottles of beer as our gifts to Vin and his wife Michael, the couple who hosted us in Kansas City. They were so hospitable as they introduced us to their friends, and the following day took us on a tour of Kansas City.
Nice and green fields here. We got some corn. If it was sunny out, we might get some popcorn, but for the last 4 days in a row, it's been pretty overcast. Although it's starting to clear up a little bit up there. Anyway, so this is Missouri, folks. Just outside Springfield. I got about another 35 miles to go to get to Springfield. I've done about a little over 20.
Well, I'm honored to have you here. We've been open since May of 2011, and this is an old bread factory that we rehabilitated into a brewery.
A bread factory?
Bread factory, the old Butternut Bakery. We've kept some of the signs and some of the things.
Wow. So how did that work out that you were able to get this old bakery?
Well, I had this idea day after Thanksgiving 2008 that I could open a craft brewery in downtown Springfield, Missouri. Didn't need special climate, didn't need anything special, just some good old Ozarks ingenuity. So I began the search for a building and for some ideas, and that led us to this building. We're right adjacent to the downtown. I've been very involved in rehabbing buildings in the downtown, so it was very important for me to have the brewery in the urban core of the Ozarks, which we are.
Okay. And what inspired the name Mother's?
So if you study brewery names like I did, you'll learn that almost every brewery in the United States is named for a geographical feature or for someone's last name. So we thought, you know, let's try to be a little bit different. So we looked at hundreds of names. We just wanted something people could remember, something people could pronounce, and hopefully something with some meaning to us. Okay. And the idea of Mother's, what we liked is the idea of a mother showing love to the family in the kitchen through the food, and us showing love to the community and our community of drinkers through each batch of beer.
So Brian, nice to meet you.
Yeah,
You're the
thanks for
brewmaster.
coming. Yeah, yep.
And what's your passion behind brewing? Where did it all start? How did you develop this?
I think it was in college. We had a pub on campus I ran, and we were serving Bud and Bass and whatever, Coors, and this was in the mid-90s when breweries were booming in the state of Maine. And so I would go to these breweries, and they seemed like they were having fun. I didn't want to be a geologist, and which is what I was studying.
Okay.
But it seemed like a good way to apply science and, you know, also be in touch with sort of centuries-old tradition.
Well, Michael, here's a little sampling of our beers. First of all, we have 3 Blind Mice. It is one of our year-round offerings. We've combined elements of 3 different brown styles that we really enjoy. There's a German Alt, an English Brown, and an Irish Red.
Wow,
So
what a combination.
Please help yourself. So what you're going to have is a nice light body from the Irish Red, but a really good nose like chocolate and toffee from the English Brown, but a crisp, clean finish, and that comes from a German Alt.
I see,
So we blended those together, 3 Blind Mice.
Lots of flavor there.
Yeah, it's a very popular beer. We really
See
really
why.
enjoy that.
That's really refreshing.
This is one of our seasonal options. We have 4 seasonal beers. This is our Marzen, which is our Oktoberfest.
Marzen.
Our Marzen style. Traditional, very traditional German, old school Oktoberfest.
Okay, all right.
In fact, we just tapped it today.
Today?
At the very beginning of the season. I'd like to say in your honor.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, in your honor, Michael.
Well, let's try it. It looks really good. It's really light and crisp.
Very light and crisp. Yeah, traditional, very traditional of a lager, of a light lager to celebrate the harvest.
Sure.
The Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
Then we have a series called Mother's Others, and these are typically higher alcohol beers that we brew one batch a year. We have 6 rotating ones that we do.
Okay.
This is called Delilah, named after my grandmother, Lila.
Nice.
And this is an imperial wheat beer.
Okay.
We do a wheat named after my mother, Sandy. This is kind of the grandmother of Sandy.
Delilah. Okay.
So an imperial wheat.
Imperial wheat. All right. Here we go. Got sort of a fruit to it.
A lot of fruit to it.
Yeah.
You know, I consider a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, definitely. It's a delicious beer.
And then finally, right here for you,
oh
we
my
have
goodness, what is
one
this?
of our backyard beers. Backyard beers, we have a lot of experimental beers going on all the time at the brewery. Sometimes we'll have a dozen different specialty beers that we've just done to play with styles, to play with ideas that we have. This is a very traditional beer, and we've added chocolate, Tahitian vanilla, and coffee to it.
Sounds pretty loaded.
It is pretty loaded. We call it sexual healing.
Sexual healing.
Everything's about the love at Mother's.
Thank you very much, Jeff, for having me.
You're very welcome. Enjoy
really
your rest
appreciate
of your journey.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. Stuart actually works at Mother's Brewing Company, who we just saw today, who we just videotaped. So it's a small, crazy world. So we're just staying with Stuart and Kate and their family for the last 3 days, actually. So it's been really fantastic. And right now, we're having kind of a jam going on. We had some dinner, and we're all jamming away right now. And we're bringing some food, too. In fact, did we bring something? This huge, massive, nuclear-sized watermelon. You can't get them any bigger than this. So that's our contribution. Springfield, Missouri is a great place to visit. And if you're on a bicycle, maybe you can give Stuart a ring. But you can only take 500 guests a night, so there is a limit. And stop by Mother's Brewing Company. Take care. This is Mike Addison from Beer on a Roll, and we are here in St. Louis, Missouri at our first stop, Urban Chestnut Brewing Company. As you can see, they got their own van here. They got their brewery in the background. They also have a brew pub inside, and in the back they have a beer garden. So they have quite a setup here. Hey, you must be David Wolf.
Yeah, I am. Mike,
hey.
Welcome to Urban Chestnut.
Thank you so much.
Glad to have you here.
Oh, it's great to be here. What a beautiful day, too.
Oh, it's fantastic. How's the ride been going?
Ride's been going pretty good. I'm getting a good workout, and I'm ready to see St. Louis, and you're the first one.
Well,
so
cool. Well,
yeah.
Again, welcome to Urban Chestnut. I'll show you around a little bit.
I'd love to.
Our brewmaster, who's my fellow co-founder, is originally from Bavaria. So
Okay.
when we opened up here, we actually didn't initially open up with the beer garden, but we always knew we wanted to have one. We actually have.
Okay.
You walked in and on the way up, we actually have a small little one out front initially, and then we were able to, create this about a year in, and it's great because we get all the tables. They're imported directly from Germany, and all.
They're imported from Germany.
Yes, they are.
Holy mackerel! I'm with Florian, who's the brewmaster here. And Florian, how long have you been in the beer business?
Almost 20 years now. So
20 years.
It's been a while, yeah.
So how did you start? How did it become your passion?
I'm originally from Germany. I grew up in a small town in Bavaria and worked for a small brewery that was making Bavarian lagers, wheat beer, and basically did my apprenticeship there after figuring out that I wanted to be in beer, and then kind of things started happening. Worked in England, worked in the U.S. for a small brewery, and then eventually ended up here in St. Louis.
Look at all these tanks.
Yeah, we've got, as I said, we started about, 2.5, 3 years ago. Started with it's a 20-barrel system.
Okay.
We've got 8 fermenters now, added quite a few tanks over the last couple of years, and are actually in the process of adding a 60-barrel brew house in another location here in St. Louis, which we're hoping to have open early next year.
Yeah, another great thing about about our beer garden being a traditional Bavarian style beer garden, it's very family oriented. We get families that come in here all the time, come in, grab brats, eat them with the kids, and sit down and enjoy their beers. And Sundays it's a regular family atmosphere out here, and it's neat because it's we wanted this to be a communal gathering space and a place for people to come and just talk and hang out and enjoy great beer.
Okay, Florian, can you tell us about your brewing process here?
Sure. So we start basically with our crushed grain that drops into the mash/brew kettle.
Okay.
We basically try to extract the sugars there that we're going to later on find in the beer, or that the yeast is going to ferment to alcohol and CO2.
Okay.
Then we pump the mash into the lauter tun, strain off the what we call wort, so the sugary liquid, pump that back into the brew kettle, boil it, add hops, extract the bitterness and the flavors from the hops.
Sure.
And then the last step is here in the whirlpool, where we try to separate out the hops and then send the wort through a heat exchanger, cool it down, pump it into one of the fermentation tanks, and start fermentation, basically.
So, Mike, this is the Urban Chestnut Taste Room. I haven't really talked much about where our name comes from and what style of beers that we brew and make. But what we do, and this really kind of falls on Florian, our brewmaster's pedigree, is we kind of put our stake in the sand. We've got really two series of beer. We've got a Revolution series of beer, which is really all about modern American craft beer. So we call it the Revolution series, which is kind of our urban part of our name.
Okay.
And then we've got a Reverence series of beer, which is really about traditional European beer styles, and that's the chestnut part of our name. And the chestnut part of our name comes from our beer garden.
Thanks for showing us these and talking about what you have here. And folks, you got to come out here. It's a beautiful day, and more to come. It's a summertime here in St. Louis over at Urban Chestnut. Come here, have some beer. Hey everybody, this is Mike from Beer on a Roll, and we're here in St. Louis at Perennial Brewing Company. And with us right now is Phil Wymore, and he's the co-founder and brewmaster, of Perennial. Can you tell us about your background in the brewing industry?
Yeah, I've been a professional brewer now for about 8 years. Started out at a brew pub in Columbia, Missouri, and then I was the cellar manager at Goose Island in Chicago for a few years. Then I was a head brewer at another brewery in Chicago called Half Acre, and then moved here to St. Louis to open up Perennial back in 2011.
Ah, all right. And what started your passion for beer?
You know, I kind of got into it by accident a little bit. I was when I was in college, I was a sushi chef, and I was a line cook and doing things like that. So I was always in the food business, which of course is also the beverage business too. And a new brew pub opened up, and I kind of weaseled my way in and as an assistant brewer, and it was I knew exactly that was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
And how's it been going? How's business?
It's great. It's great. We distribute here. Here in St. Louis. We also distribute in Kansas City, New York, DC, Philadelphia, and Chicago. So.
Goodness, wow, you really reach out.
Yeah.
Okay. And why the name Perennial?
When I was making beer, for me is easy. Naming breweries is kind of hard, and you only have one shot to name your brewery. So I had a really long list of crappy names, and it's like, man, I don't know how I'm going to do this. So I decided to let the image drive this first. So our logo is a ginkgo leaf. I've always been into ginkgo trees. They're really cool. They're distinct. We have about 150 of these barrels filled now. We started filling barrels within a couple of months of opening, and this is a beer that takes a long time. It might be 12 months, might be 18 months, and so we had to start filling them right away so that we can now have barrel-aged beers ready to go. So, we've got, like I said, about 150 of these, but they represent probably about 20 different beers. So, what we have is a lot of really limited volume, small releases, and some of these are bourbon barrels, some of them are wine barrels, and so we're trying to do a little bit more traditional Belgian-style barrel aging with wild yeasts, and we also do a little bit of high alcohol spirits barrel aging as well.
Okay. Now, is it intentional that you're using bourbon and wine barrels to give it a distinctive taste?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we kind of look at is two different types of beer. So with the wine barrels, what we're looking at is we're not really trying to get so much the wine flavor into the beer. We're really using them as secondary vessels for secondary fermentation. So we want the barrel to essentially replace the tank. And the porosity of the wood allows different organisms to take up residence there and kind of hang out for a while, so which is nice. But with the bourbon barrels, what we do want is the character of what was in there before. So so bourbon, the wood character itself, also to be infused in the beer. This is a new beer that we did. We release a different beer in bottle and draft every month, and this is one that is basically an American brown. It has a lot of rye malt in the bill, so that you get a little bit of rye spiciness to it, and that's fermented on locally grown blackberries. So it's got a little bit of a blackberry juiciness in the finish as well.
Are these your top sellers?
Well, the two flagships, we make those year round. So,
right.
So volume wise, revenue wise, of course, they are our top sellers. Along with we have another flagship beer as well called Saison d'Elise.
Well, thanks for sharing.
Absolutely, Mike.
Yeah,
thanks for coming down.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Thanks, everybody. From St. Louis, I biked over the Mississippi River and into southern Illinois, where we stayed in a small town called Chester, the home of Popeye. The next stop was off our route, but we had heard of this cool craft brewery located deep inside rural southern Illinois. I got lost in the backwoods, so Terry, who arrived there before me, took this footage of Scratch Brewery, definitely the most remote craft brewery on our entire route. Out of all the breweries we visited, Scratch experimented the most with flavors, and here are a few. Lemon Verbena, Pineapple Sage Saison, Chicory Burdock Root Porter, Peach Abbey, Apricot Honey, and there's more, but I only have 30 seconds. All right. Woo! Finally made it here. All right, oh, there it is, great. Big Muddy Brewing Company. Yeah, this has been good. Some good corn back there too. Ready to get a beer now. I'm so full of corn. I need to wash it down with some beer. All right, let's go. Let's get some beer. Hey Chuck, thank you so much for inviting us over to Big Muddy here in Murfreesboro, Illinois.
Well, thanks for coming out.
How long you been here?
I started the brewery back in 2009. So about 4 years ago.
4 years. And how did it start? How was, what's the history?
Well, basically I was homebrewing back in college in the late 80s.
Homebrewing, okay.
Yeah, just homebrewed on and off for about 20 years. And here in Southern Illinois we have about 18 or 19 wineries, and I kept waiting for a brewery to open, and nobody ever opened a brewery. And I waited year after year after year. And I got tired of waiting, basically. Started with a small 7-barrel system just to see kind of an experiment to see if the business would work, if the business model would work. And right away, some of the wineries were our first customers, and that served beer also, and it just grew from there.
Very nice. So you have some clientele who go to the wineries and then also come over here?
Oh yes, now that we've opened the tap room, definitely. People stop by here earlier in the day and then they hit the wineries. We get a lot of tourism crowd. We're getting people from like all the different states, everywhere. They seem to come by here and they just like the fact that there's a brewery they can come and visit now. We invite everybody that's passing through town. If we're only open on the weekends, so that's the only bad part. I know we've got people traveling, every day of the week, but we're open on Saturdays and Sundays from 12 to 6. Right. But we invite them to stop by the brewery during the week and just stop by and chat.
Sure. So we got some Big Muddy brews here. Can you tell us about them, Chuck?
Yeah, sure. The first one there is our Saluki Dunkel Dog. That's a combination of a German Dunkel and an American Amber. So we incorporate ingredients from both the U.S. and from Germany, Hallertau hops, and then we've got hops from the U.S. too, Cascade.
Hallertau hops.
Hops, yeah.
Right. Where are those located?
From the Hallertau region of Germany.
Oh my goodness, that's really good stuff there. Wow. Must be, is that a pretty popular one?
Yeah, that's actually named after Southern Illinois University's mascot, the Saluki. That's an Egyptian racing dog.
Okay.
The oldest known historic, in history. It's 4,000 years old, the breed.
Okay.
It's a racing dog from Egypt. And then we've got our Galaxy IPA, which we incorporate Galaxy hops from down under, from Australia.
From Australia?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a different hop profile for an IPA.
Does your accent change? Do you start saying the word mate?
Possibly. It depends how many you have.
Yeah, right. Very good.
And then we've got our Sour du Shawnee. That's the sour from the Shawnee. We're surrounded by the Shawnee Forest here, Shawnee National Forest. So we've incorporated a lot of wild yeast in there that's ambient, that's local. So it's a very unique sour. And that's aged in barrels that we get from local wineries.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thank you, Chuck. Thanks for showing us your beers here.
Thanks
These
for stopping
delicious.
by.
Yeah, we love being here.
Yeah, great.
All right,
Thanks.
everybody. Thank you. I continued through southern Illinois, arriving into Elizabethtown, a small community right on the Ohio River, which is the border between Illinois and Kentucky. I just happened to meet up with a Dutch couple, Peter and Ilse, whom I had met while biking several days earlier. We all got along great and decided to stay in an old hotel next to the Ohio River. The following day, we biked about 15 miles to a ferry landing and went across the Ohio River into Kentucky. Our first stop was Seabury, a small town in western Kentucky, where we stayed at the First Baptist Church with Pastor Bob and his wife Violet. So here we are in Seabury, Kentucky. We're going to be leaving now. It's August 8th. It's about just about noon right now. Kind of got a late start, but we got a lot of work done, so that's a good thing. Terry and I are going to be heading now from Bob and Violet's church, the First Baptist Church here in Seabury, where they were just so accommodating and generous to us. We were here a couple days. We're going to be leaving here now and going to Falls of Rough, which is about 70 miles away. So Falls of Rough. Roof! Roof!
Real pretty out here. Real nice. A little rear view here of that hill we just went down. And it looks like we're coming upon another hill here, so here it comes. One thing about Kentucky is it's really scenic. In the lower part, I don't know about the upper part, but the lower part is really nice. It's a pleasure to ride through. Yeah, if there weren't any dogs, it'd be perfect, but you know, stuff happens.
The roads were mostly smooth, but a little rough in some areas. Therefore, I set my tire pressure just below recommended, so that I would have good traction around the turns. By the way, there are 3 factors that govern tire pressure. First is the width of the tire. So the narrower the tire, the more pressure is needed. Second is the road surface, whether it's smooth, rough, or wet. Generally, if it's smooth, increase the tire pressure. And finally, rider weight. Generally, the more weight, the more pressure is needed. Southern Kentucky has some serious rolling hills and history. While biking past Munfordville, I stopped to visit a Civil War battlefield commemorating a battle that took place in 1862. I felt like I stepped back in time, as not much had changed, and even some Civil War era homes were still intact. And then finally made it into Bardstown, Kentucky, the bourbon capital of the world, where Terry, my new videographer, got us accommodations at the Bardstown Fire Department. As I continued through Kentucky, I met other fellow cyclists, and there was an instant camaraderie and respect for each other, born out of a subtle acknowledgement among us, an acknowledgement that basically said, "Hey, that's cool, you're following your bike dream as well." After a 95-mile bike ride from Bardstown, we made it into Lexington, Kentucky, where a retired couple, Bob and Beverly, bike enthusiasts themselves, hosted us for a couple nights. Hey, Ben. Yeah. Hey, Mike Addison from Beer on the Roll.
Good to meet you.
Me too. So here we are. This is West 6 Brewing Company?
Yeah, welcome in.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks. And you're one of, was it 4?
Yeah, there's 4 of us that started West 6th a little bit last year.
Yeah,
so
very nice. Yeah, excellent. Look at this place. It's very expansive, pretty roomy in here.
Yeah, we were really fortunate to find this place for the brewery. It's an old rainbow bread factory.
Rainbow bread factory?
Yeah, it's been a bakery since about 1870, 1880.
Kidding.
With successful expansions every 20 years or so. Yeah. So we're fortunate to have this really old building with this great tile on the floors and tile on the walls. It's a good starting place.
Yeah, so what room are we in right now?
We were in what was the packaging room originally. When we got it, actually though, it was just the tile on the floor, the tile on the wall, and nothing else. So everything else was empty. The walls, the windows had been filled in, and everything else. So we really did start from scratch when building West 6.
And can you tell us about the brewing process?
Our focus is pretty much American ales with a little bit of smattering of Belgian ales and some English ales. Okay. The occasional lager. We've done one Oktoberfest. I definitely have a no filter approach to what I do here, so that we don't do any kind of post-cellar filtration or anything like that. I use a fining agent to do some natural settling on the beer, and so just basically it's a week of fermentation, a week of conditioning with finings, and then off to the dry tank it goes. It gets carbonated and packaged.
So Ben, what are you featuring here?
Yeah, so today we've got 2 different beers for you to try. There are 2 flagship beers, our West 6th Amber and our West 6th IPA.
Okay.
So I think we'll start with the West 6th Amber. It's our newest packaged beer. One of the interesting things about our beer is that we can our beer rather than bottle it. And so this is our Amber. It's kind of a more malt-forward beer. It's got a biscuity flavor to the malt, and I've got a nice hop balance in it as well.
It does. It's very moderate. It's got a full flavor too.
Yeah, we've been really happy with it. And then the next beer here is our flagship beer, which is our IPA. That's the one that we're most known for. Okay. It's got a big, we hop mostly for flavor and aroma, so a lot of late hop additions, using a hop note that gives it a lot of grapefruit or citrusy flavor.
I can smell that, yeah.
Yeah, so we're, it's a little bit on the stronger side. It's 7% ABV, so it's got a kick, kind of good alcoholic backbone to match that.
Boy, yeah, that's good. That's refreshing. Definitely tastes the citrus.
Yeah. It's definitely one that we've become really well known for. And I'm really proud of.
Nice. Yeah.
So, cheers.
Thank you. Yeah. What do you have?
The IPA.
All right.
Cheers.
Good. West 6 Brewery Company, everybody. Come on down. Have some. It's really good. After Lexington, I biked into eastern Kentucky, quite a poor area of the U.S., as evidenced by very depressing communities, consisting of homes without basic plumbing or sewage. However, it's also a beautiful part of the country as well. So I rolled into Western Virginia and biked up and down the Appalachian Mountains, which were incredibly steep.
We're in the Appalachian Mountains right now, and right by the Appalachian Trail, actually. And no, it's not the Rockies, but we are at about 3,000 feet. But to be honest with you, the inclines are they're even steeper than when I was in the Rockies. I saw my granny gear a lot just back there.
I rolled into Wytheville, my final stop going eastward. From there, I would go northeast towards New York City. That final stop in Wytheville, by total chance, I met up with the Dutch couple, Peter and Ilse, and we had a final celebration that evening. I entered Washington, D.C. on August 17th, and a couple, Bob and Sarah, hosted us. Bob, an avid cyclist, asked me if I'd like to take a day and bike with him around Greater D.C. Hell yes! So Bob led me on a bike tour all over D.C. That was an awesome day. Hey Greg.
Hey buddy, how are you?
Hey man, good to see you.
See you too.
Yeah, from Beer on a Roll, yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take this hat off if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I'm biking a lot lately. But thanks for having us here.
This is Church Key. This is the depository for all of our 555 beers. So we have an ever-rotating list of 50 draft beers, which are behind us, of course, 500 bottles, 5 cask ales, all kinds of can pump cask ales, like you see all over England. And that's all here. We keep all the kegs up in this mezzanine, and then the drafts come down here. But they also shoot down to Birch and Barley below. We have one kitchen that services both levels. Up here, you know, more kind of like pubby fare, really great, still seasonal, locally driven. Downstairs is a fine dining restaurant that just happens to have 555 beers that myself and my staff can play with in pairings and things like that. I mean, we offer a tasting menu nightly downstairs, a 6-course tasting menu with beer pairings rather than with wine. So we really kind of just took it to the next level.
Well, hey everybody, we're over here at Church Key again, and come on down here. The address is 14th Street.
14th in Rhode Island, Logan Circle in Washington, D.C.
All right. And, you know, they got a great selection here, 555 beers. 55, okay, so you don't have an excuse not to come down here and try their great beers here. So come on down, and we're about to roll out of here, though, and go over to
Blue Jacket.
Blue Jacket, so we'll see you there in a few minutes. Here we are again over at now Blue Jacket, having come from Church Key over at Logan Circle. Here with Greg again. Greg, good to see you again.
See you too.
And
Thanks for coming by.
thanks. Thank you for having us. And wow, look at the size of this place. First of all, really marveled by the space you have here. Can you tell us a little bit about Blue Jacket?
Yeah, absolutely. So after we set up Church Key and Birch and Barley, we had we always have a lot of ideas of things we want to do. And so Blue Jacket, which is the restaurant and bar with brewery that we are just about to open here in the Navy Yard area of Washington, D.C., was a kind of companion piece to Church Key. So once Church Key got rolling, we set our sights on this space, and we fell in love with it right away. I mean, Navy Yard was the only real industrial area of D.C. for many years, for about 200 years. And just recently, they started to turn it over to kind of more contemporary development. So the building we're in is this gorgeous building built in 1918, and it really, for the longest time, it was a Boilermaker factory for the Navy.
And what can you say to all the baseball fans? I think we're pretty close to a certain stadium.
I failed to mention. So Navy Yard is probably more so known for National Stadium. The Washington Nationals built the stadium in 2008. It's beautiful. It's a stone's throw from here, about 3 blocks that way. So it's going to be a fantastic place to get craft beer before and after the game.
Looking up here, it looks like you have a lot of tanks.
This is a 15-barrel brew house, meaning we can produce about 30 kegs of each batch at a time. The amount of fermentation space is really important because it allows for us to make lots of different things. We're going to have 20 of our own beers on at all times on draft. We're going to have bottles of our own beer. We're going to have our own 5 different cask ales from us. So lots of different variety, lots of rotation, lots of new things, but also it allows us to leave the beer in tank for longer periods of time. So a lot of breweries, of our size, we're going to be able to do 5,000 barrels annually, which is pretty big. It's pretty decent size. And we'll be selling it in the restaurant and bar here, but also all throughout the area. So Blue Jacket will be available throughout the DC metro region to start, and then hopefully further afield. So you'll see color nice and golden clear. You know, unfiltered. We don't filter this beer at all, so we leave all the essential hop oils into the beer and stuff like that. And then, yeah, it's
how's the nose?
Big nose.
Yeah.
Why don't you give that a whirl?
Oh my. Definitely a fruitiness to it.
Yeah, it's big and bold, but a hop fruitiness, you know, not from the yeast fermentation.
No, but it's not overbearing.
No, it's not. No.
It's moderate. I mean, it's got a full flavor to it, and you're right, very refreshing.
You know, we call this hop juicing. So, you know, the earlier we add hops in the brewing process, the more bitterness we're going to extract, less aroma. So with this beer, we were really gentle with the hopping early on. And what we call the hot side, which is the brewing process itself, the mashing and the boiling, the whirlpool. But the cold side, which is fermentation, that's after we fermented the beer, then we dry hopped it super heavily. So we're trying to extract less of the bitterness and give you more of the aroma, and that's what we call hop juicing.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
We're on the trail here, and I believe we're still in Maryland. Yes, we are. On our way to York, Pennsylvania. And very bumpy trail, lots of rocks, but giving it a go here. Don't have to deal with the traffic, so this is pretty cool.
On Wednesday, August 21st, we arrived into Philadelphia, where another cyclist, Chris, hosted us. Chris and I hit it off right away. Then Terry and I spent the day visiting downtown Philadelphia, checking out all of its sights. We then ended the day with a visit to Dock Street Brewery. Dock Street Brewery is located in an old fire station, where not only is the beer great, but their pizza has been voted the best by Philadelphia Magazine. Marilyn, the friendly VP of the company, graciously showed me around. They have a great beer selection on tap, with Justin, the brewmaster, ensuring nothing but excellent beers are served. The Oh My God Pale Ale was my favorite, as it had a nice citrus flavor, similar to an IPA. Justin told me he was training for a triathlon, so in return for his beer, I gave him a Core Power recovery drink.
So, in New Jersey right now, just outside Trenton, going up to catch a ferry. It's about 30 miles away, something like that, maybe 40. You go through Sandy Hook Bay, through New York Harbor, and land at Wall Street. So here we are, just outside Trenton. It's Friday, August 23rd, last day for Beer on a Roll. Last day. How about that? So here we go. Yo! Make sure the car sees you. This is Jersey some more, and nice neighborhood. Check it out. Last day for Beer on a Roll. Started in San Francisco on June 10th. Today it's August 23rd. Heading up into New York City. This is the Henry Hudson Trail, about 10 miles away from the ferry, but it's a cool trail. Check it out.
At this moment, I was feeling a quiet, peaceful sense of victory. I was tired, yeah, but I had a smile on my face. And then the sudden realization that this was the last day of this journey, this crazy project across the country, and all the energy I'd put into it, well, it all hit me. I became a little misty-eyed. Yes! I made it onto the New Jersey ferry on my way to New York City. I was so amped up. By the way, for all you cyclists coming into New York City from the west, I recommend this ferry, which leaves from Belford, New Jersey and crossing into New York City. It's a blast. Otherwise, you'll be biking through large industrial, not so pleasant areas of New Jersey. Finally, after 2.5 months and biking over 3,500 miles, I made it into New York City. I was on my way to the Upper East Side of Manhattan to stay at a friend's place. I was feeling apprehensive about biking in New York City. Big surprise, huh?
Hey, man.
I had envisioned having to dodge traffic, especially the taxi drivers, all of whom I've heard drink 3 liters of Red Bull before each shift. But the ride was no problem. It was safe, as there were bike paths and lanes painted in green, which made them easy to find and follow. So I safely made it to my friend's place. Saturday morning, August 24th, was our last Craft Brewery visit. We went to Brooklyn Brewery, who unfortunately chose not to have any of their staff join us to talk about their company for the movie. So Terry and I joined their regular weekly tour. Charlie was the tour guide, very entertaining, knowledgeable, and funny as hell. One of my Twitter followers, who goes by the name Brooklyn Beer Bitch, met up with Terry and I for a beer. I must say, of all the lagers I've tasted across the country, Brooklyn Brewery had the best. It was light, yet full of flavor.
So Mike, what's up?
We're back home, finally. What a crazy bike ride that was. You know, I got to give thanks to a lot of people who supported us along the way. And first of all, with Core Power, they helped me get across the country. That replenishment drink really came in timely on many occasions. I also want to thank everyone who hosted us through warm showers and couch surfing. They were fantastic, letting us stay at their homes and making us meals too, really tasty meals we had along the way. I also want to thank the so many people that gave me directions when my phone was not getting any reception. They were great too. And obviously to my videographers, Matt and you, Terry. And you know, you guys were great. And you know, what's next on the horizon, I'm not so sure right now, but get a bike, get on your bike, dust it off, get out there. It's okay. It's a great way to get some exercise. You're safe on the road. You'll be fine. Take it from me. You'll be all right. Get out there though, and I'll see you again. Take care.
Wat sta je bij voor mensen?
Ik wil graag eenmaal nummer 4 en eenmaal nummer 3.
I'm sorry, number 10?
Nee, 4. 4, number 4 please.
And number 4?
Thanks.
I have a bacon cheeseburger, a BLT, a bacon super solid cheeseburger, 2 orders of fries, an order of tots, 2 Cokes.
Yes, yeah, take those.
Thanks.
Yeah.